is closed. Councilmember Tao.
Thank you. So I want to thank everybody for coming down here, especially folks who came down here to share their concern and oppose the changes as amended. After listening to your testimony, I don't disagree with what you all said and your concern. But also being in a position that we are in as a council, myself, we have the unique opportunity to listen to both sides, Ryan Company, what they're trying to do, and many of the folks that are here in support of the changes. Personally, Ryan Company has done a pretty darn good job with the two recent projects that they've done in Ward 1, and I'm just speaking in terms of my experience, the Vintage and the O'Gara projects, and they've always been responsive to our office and to our constituents, our residents, our neighbors. And so I trust that they are in this for the long haul. I trust that they will not let us down and making sure that we have the affordable housing that they have committed to it. I think that's important. And I think it's also important that we understand that right now we have a housing shortage. We have a limited resources around tax revenue. And I just don't believe this is the time for us to delay this project. I know that we don't have to vote until next week, but I'm going to be in favor of this. I think that this is a monumental development and change to the city of St. Paul that will put us on the map in many levels. And the job creation that will be here, I think this is the right compromise. And I hope that Ryan will continue to work to ensure that all concerns are met as we continue this into the different phases of this project. And so I'm going to be in favor of this, and I look forward to voting for it next week.
Any other comments? Okay. Well, Councilmember
I'd like to briefly speak. I want to just take a moment and thank everyone, no matter which side, quote unquote, side you came to share. I guess I'm sitting with the fact that we spent 90 minutes debating how we're charging folks to maintain our roads, and people sat through that. And it really illuminated the challenges we have as a community organizing our city around cars, and cars as the main form of transportation, and funding the needs we have as a growing community, as an increasingly young community, as a community that is generationally less and less equipped with the wealth that our predecessors had, and that we sat through a very heated discussion and then came to talk about this, and it just illuminated so many of the needs we have and what the Ford site is trying to address. And so, I really just want to share that I'm thinking about that a lot, and it ties back to what I've already said in previous hearings that I already spoke about, so I won't rehash it at length again, but I voted against the amendments, and I reiterate that it was because I just don't feel like it's accurate to describe the inclusion of the additional potential housing along the river as single-family homes. I think that there will be essentially mansions or some of the most high-wealth single-family homes that could be characterized as such, and we should talk about that. And it doesn't mean it will only become that, but that's why I, voted against it, is that I don't think the possibility should be there. The reasons given to me were political and economic, and I just didn't agree with either of those. And we've spoken about the parking and the things that I oppose. So I guess I want to briefly take a moment to say that what we do have before us to vote on, it's in the shape it's in because of groups like Sustain Ward 3, because of younger people stepping up who have scrapped so hard, not just to fight for people who immediately live along this site, but who want to and who hope to and who are trying to make a life here. I just want you to know that what we have is in the shape it's in today, with a lot of the great aspects that are so incredible. Project for Pride in Living, other affordable housing advocates coming here to talk about how it is an ambitious plan. That is because of you. And I recognize that you don't always get talked about as if you're also the community, but we're all the community, and you have your place in that. So I just want to thank folks who came to talk about what you fought so hard for. I want to thank everyone who's weighing in. This is hard. This is a hard thing, and as a newer council member, I am actually mostly in listening mode. And so I want you to know that whatever side you came on tonight, I did listen, I take notes, I think about it. But I want to lift up those points and just say thank you, because we are where we are in this very long road because of the advocacy in this room. And I don't think that should go unacknowledged, especially since you sat through 90 minutes of something else before you came to speak tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Councilmember Prince?
Yeah, I voted against the Ford Master Plan in November of 2017, not so much because I couldn't support the density or the goals of the plan, but because the community was so intensely divided. The Pioneer Press actually asked the City Council to hold off on approving the plan because of the division within the community. I am extremely grateful to the Ryan companies for the excellent community engagement work that they have done that has won pretty broad support from the same community that was so deeply divided in November 2017. I heard Tom Bastian say, and I really appreciate the passion of the people who spoke against the amendments tonight, but Tom spoke to the fact that the original plan was a statement of our shared values. I think the problem is the original plan was not a statement necessarily of everyone's shared values. I think what Ryan did in their community engagement work, and I attended a number of those meetings, was create an atmosphere of being able to talk about the future of that site that allowed people who had so strongly opposed it to believe in it. When it comes to the affordable housing in the plan, I want to remind people here that our PED staff absolutely discouraged us from passing an amendment that got us down to 30% of area median income because they believed that we couldn't reach that, and saddling a developer with deeply affordable housing, that being for low-wage working people, was something that was never going to fly. And we voted for that amendment. I believe it was Councilmember Tao who proposed the amendment. It was a really bold amendment, as Mr. Williams said tonight from PPL. And Ryan came as a local developer with the market conditions that we're all looking at, where deeply affordable is nearly impossible to do. And they said, we're going to meet that goal and we're not going to argue about it. I think that is incredible for a market rate developer to walk into this situation and build 30% area median affordable housing in the strongest real estate market in the whole city west of Snelling Avenue. So I am extremely happy with that. The master plan that we passed called for between 2,500 and 4,000 units. For people who are concerned about density, we are well within that. We've almost topped off at 3,800 units with the amendments that are coming forward tonight. So to suggest that this is anything other than, with the Ryan amendments, that it's anything other than a statement of our shared values, I think is a mistake. I think this gets us where we all wanted to go, and I think it's a really powerful proposal now that we have going forward with a developer who we know is capable of fulfilling these expectations.
Councilmember Bousari.
I just want to echo what Councilmember Prince said. I am the newest council member at the table, and when I requested Ryan to come and brief me on this project and their plans and their goals and the amendments that they were bringing, I couldn't believe that some of the things they said was we did a lot of community engagement, we had over so many replies, and I said, send it to me. So today, when I came to the office, I saw this book of all the comments that was sent in by community members in support of and not in support of, and why they support it, But in general, 80% of the letters and the engagement was supportive, and they gave information of what they wanted, and Ryan introduced that into the plan. And again, as Councilmember Prince said, we are reaching that goal of sustainability and the house unit dwelling numbers that we wanted, 3,800. We're only shy of 200 units in that area. So again, I want to thank Ryan for their bold act on this, and then for them to work with great groups like PPL, and having them at the table, having them being part of the project, shows the support that they have for this community and how they want to increase the equity and the value of our neighborhood.
Thank you. And I'll take the opportunity to thank everybody for coming out today and testifying on this, as well as watching the hearings before. You can see some of the other work that we do, and we're not talking about the Ford site. It's always a unique and almost kind of odd thing when we have a public hearing, everybody testifies, we have the staff presentation, and then we say, we're going to lay it over till next week. But that's the law based on ordinances, so that's something we're going to do, and we'll vote on it next week. But it is one more week to vote on. But this has been a long process. There was a decade-long process leading up to the rezoning of this site, and we know that we have at least a decade in front of us as this process moves forward. 2 years ago, we rezoned this site from an industrial use to a mixed-use development. We did that for a couple reasons. At least the reason, my justification behind it was to provide a vision to a future developer and a vision to forward of what we as a neighborhood and we as a city wanted, but also we did it to protect the neighborhood from the things that we did not want. We took the site from the most permissive industrial use zoning to a very, very specific zoning, mixed-use development zoning. But when we did that, and it is the ordinance, it is in the law, I specifically often called it a framework, and we often called it a framework when we talked about it. And the reason we called it a framework is because we knew what we passed at the time wasn't going to be the final. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't something that was set in stone. It was something that a framework and a vision to provide for how we wanted our site to look, how we wanted the future of our neighborhood and the future of our city to look. We knew that change would happen when a developer had a purchase agreement like Ryan does. We knew they would bring things forward, skills and a look at the site that we didn't necessarily have. They would bring their financing background and the need to get financing to make this project work. They would need to use the current market conditions, the changing market conditions. They would use their years of expertise. And we knew we would need to change too. And as Ms. Mohan mentioned, we gained more information along the process that changed some of the things in the amendment that's before us today that we have improved upon along the way. And that's part of the thing that we've done. That's exactly what Ryan did. And it's something that we anticipated when we passed the zoning amendment 2 years ago. And when Ms. Mohan went through the presentation, she made a point, and Mr. Bronco also mentioned the point. Ryan came forward with a fair amount of amendments, things that they thought they needed to talk about, things about parking, amongst other things about adding single family housing as an option along the river, and many other things. Staff pushed back as they should. The Planning Commission pushed back as they should. We as council members pushed back as we should. And on some of those, Ryan said, okay, you're right. We will go with the vision of the master plan. We will go with the original. Some of them staff and Ryan agreed and compromised and changed together, or came out with a win-win compromise. And some of them, like the ones that are here before us today, Ryan found to be extremely important to make this development possible, to make this development deliverable. And that's what we're here today. And I think those amendments are very reasonable. I think they make sense. I think Ryan does deliver the plan and the vision in a big picture sense. And I appreciate, not all developers do this, the collaboration that Ryan has had with not only staff and planning and us as council members, but with the neighborhood on an individual basis, on a group basis, and the time and amount of time that they've spent. So just as I'm wrapping up, I do want to take a step back and just look at the big picture of what we're talking about here. Our goal is to successfully redevelop this site into the vision that we set out 2 years ago, a vision that took a decade of community engagement to have. And I believe Ryan can successfully redevelop and deliver on this vision and deliver for this neighborhood and deliver for our city. They know their reputation is on the line. This will likely be their biggest project. This will be what people look at when they say, what kind of work does Ryan do? Ryan is well aware of that this will be their reputation and their legacy, and it's important. One of the important asks that we always said to Ford when they talked about selling the property is we want a local developer, and we wanted a local developer because they have a past and they have a future in the city of St. Paul and in their community. And Ryan has that past, and I know Ryan will have that future, and they're one of the best developers that we possibly could have had come here. And also, we have to look at the big vision of the site, and it was talked about by many people. Ryan has never shied away from our very, very ambitious 20% affordable housing goals, which has been a top priority of this council, as well as the mayor and myself and many people in the community. And they are aggressive affordable housing goals. They have sustainability, they have park and open space, they have added the ball fields. This will provide new retail, new jobs, new places to go, new places to live, new places to shop, new places to work. And it's adding multimodal, modern infrastructure across the entire site. This is a unique opportunity. I know we're voting on this next week, but this is a unique opportunity that I hope my colleagues will support, and I will be supporting these amendments. On this great site on the banks of the Mississippi River, 10 minutes from downtown St. Paul, 10 minutes from downtown Minneapolis, a few minutes from the airport in the heart of Highland Park. And, this amendment before us is important, and I think it's another important step that we pass as a council as we continue along this process that's taken a decade and will take a decade more. And I think Ryan will deliver on this site to make us proud today and also provide for future generations the neighborhood and the city that we want. So I'll be supporting this, and I will make a motion to lay this over till next week. If no further comments, Councilmember Tao.
I just also want to point out that several developers, when they come to meet me and they talk about development, housing development, mixed-use development in the city of St. Paul, I have suggested to them to look at Ryan as an example, especially around affordable housing. And I think that it's really important that we pass this so that we set precedents for how market rate developer come in here and wanting to develop St. Paul, that we do have affordable housing at 30% of the AMI. So there's a lot of stuff that is attached to this vote. And so, from the Sears site to what's happening in the Midway area. So I think that's really important to also be thinking about that as well.
Great. Anything else? If not, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The ordinance is laid over to April 10th for final adoption, and that's at 3:30.